It has been a while since I made a top list, so I thought we'd break that silence by doing exactly that. A top 10! And not just any top 10, the top 10 best bosses in video gaming. Like almost every top 10, this will have some serious spoilers, so be prepared before venturing forward. Keep in mind that there are many boss fights out there, so chances are that some fights will miss the mark. After all, this is only my list, so let's just jump into it, shall we? Wait. I'll be nice for once. Here is the games I'll talk about. Avoid the list if you'd like, or skip to the numbers. I'll link them down in the description below without any spoilers. Enjoy! A big reason that boss fights are so important in games is because they're often challenging in some way. And number 10 on this list is certainly, well, challenging. The NES is considered one of the best consoles of all time, with great reason behind that consideration. A staple in the NES library is the highly praised Punch-Out, or Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, and you know what boss I'm talking about by now. Yep, the number 10 spot goes to the legend himself, Mr. Dream. No. In Punch-Out, there's only one true final boss, and that's Mike Tyson himself. His punches, much like in real life, hits like a truck, and if any punch happens to hit you, bam, you're fucking dead. The entirety of Punch-Out is only made up of iconic music and great bosses, only rising in difficulty as you beat them. Glass Joe, King Hippo, Piston Honda, Soda Popinski. There are many memorable bosses with equally memorable quotes. I especially love Soda's quote. This shit is real. It is actually in a licensed Nintendo game! But what makes Mike even more terrifying is that the other bosses are made up. But chances are you know who Mike Tyson is. And the knowledge of that creeps under your skin and makes you more tense than before. Shit is going down. He easily punches his way to the number 10 spot on this list. I am very sorry about the pun. Coming out of left field is a boss from probably one of my favorite fighting games ever, Capcom vs SNK 2. I've played a buttload of fighting games in my days. Hashtag getting old, hashtag I'm laughing but the pain is real. And while games like Tekken 3 and Soul Calibur 3 or 2 are stellar, CVS 2 has something that just makes you want to replay it over and over again. You're just enjoying yourself, carefree and relaxed, when BAM! Shinakuma enters and shows how miserable and bad you are. Thanks Akuma. But this spot isn't for Shinakuma, because there exists a boss in the same game that's way harder and much more interesting in my book. Literally named God Rugal, is perfectly worthy of number 9 on this list. After an eye-popping, unusually dark cinematic, God Rugal will throw Akuma's body as if it was a mitten, and the battle is underway. Good fucking luck. Not only is all of his moves extremely safe, they also chunk a large part of your life whenever you get hit. It doesn't even fucking matter if you block. He'll destroy you, your sister, your brother, your whole effing family after he already dismantled your house by simply being near it. While the previous exaggeration is only half true, God Rugal is simply a tough boss by any standard. Well worth it to be on this list. There is just something about the older Pokémon games that always makes me happy. It's the charm combined with the extreme nostalgia, not gonna lie, and the sense of adventure. The amount of things to do in these games are off the charts, especially if you want to complete the Pokédex. I can remember a lot of fantastic moments from my childhood when I played through the gold version, fighting against Whitney and her stupid Miltank, encountering a legendary beast winning against the Elite 4 after my friend told me to believe in myself. Yes, this is real, it's shit that actually happened. And stumbling upon a lone dude in Mount Silver. So naturally you go to speak to him, only to be thrown into a fierce battle with Red, the main character from the prequel games. Honestly, he could have a better lineup, but they're still pretty damn tough. And the hype soundtrack and just the fact that you kinda battle yourself if you play the Gen 1 games, it's all pretty darn amazing. I still think this moment is one of the peak moments in a Pokémon game. Still, because it was such a revolutionary, stellar game in general, while providing amazing callbacks. And the entirety of Kanto, thanks Mr. Iwata, I just love it. Enough said. This is going to be a strange entry, I believe. I know I say this a lot, but Furi actually made me relapse in my fascination of how a seemingly simple game can be so tremendously interesting and time draining. Fundamentally, the entire game is just bosses, and maybe 2 to 3 semi-hidden side stuff that only builds upon the lore of the game. Furi boasts great bosses, some are really tough, others play more on a gimmicky type of fight, but they're all very different from one another. The line was my first favorite of the bunch, great design, fantastic soundtrack by Wave Shaper, great quotes, and it was a fair, interesting fight. The second was The Hand, a valiant knight with something precious to fight for. Then came The Edge, a true duel between two masters, set up by the voice before facing him, making the showdown feel legendary. But none of these beats the next entry. You'll get the joke soon enough. The beat, get it, is not the toughest fight, not the most intense either. It stands out because it's so different. It's truly not about the fight itself, but the promise of almost being free. Free from the chains that previously bound the rider. After all, that's what the voice has told you the entire game. But the beat makes your earlier steeled conviction loosen, makes you think if what you're doing and has been doing before is what you want to do, if it's right to do. The beat has some amazing dialogue, words that hurt you by being kind, caring, or confused about what your motives are. It's a fight that plays with your heart instead of your skill, and it has since been a reason to why I love Furi so much. Hard games are an important part of every masochist's bookshelf. The happy moments of life must be quelled from time to time, and Ninja Gaiden is the answer to that misfortune. If you suck real bad and die a couple of times, you get offered to play the luxurious Ninja Dog mode, to really smear in how bad you are. Shame, shame, shame on you. The game released 15 fucking years ago and holy shit, I'm becoming an old man. The combat is as close to perfection as possible, which helps to really hammer home how amazing the game is. Enter the bosses. We have wannabe Bruce Lee, your mom, Jurassic Park, I'm suddenly very interested in monsters, never fucking mind, and the middle spot on this list, the greater fiend Doku. This guy doesn't fuck around, and he has literally negative mercy. He'll most likely kill you during your first encounter, which only makes the second encounter more intriguing, something to look forward to, getting your well-deserved revenge. To avoid spoiling the major events of the game, he's one tough dude, and a huge reason why I appreciate this fight is because you can actually see how much better you've gotten since the first battle. Just the whole combo of the music, the arena, and the horrible memory of what happened during your first duel, revenge clear in your mind, is greatness embodied. As if being thrown back 80 years into the past, Cuphead is a fresh direction of the old cartoon art style, hand-drawn with an almost perfect aesthetic. While the style is already a big enough reason to just try it out, gameplay itself holds up to the standard set before it, but it even surpasses it in some aspects. The two possible modes offer some nice variation, those being run and gun and boss battles. The boss battles are particularly interesting, with phases and plenty of moves to memorize, while only being able to sustain 3 hits before kicking the bucket in the beginning. The bosses are really tough, as you might expect, but there comes a point in the game when you're really tested, pushing your skills to the limit. The number 5 spot goes to the stylish, suave King Dice. He shows up many times in the game before arriving in the Inkwell Hell section, where the devil resides, and he needs to be dealt with. Before you can even touch the devil, you gotta get past King Dice, his right-hand man, as he himself says. And let me tell you, he's no pushover. In fact, I thought he was way harder than the devil himself. His whole theme is coherent and he's easily the most developed character in the game, except perhaps the cups themselves. And since he's based on Cab Calloway, he gets a badass seal from me. Before you can even touch him, you'll have to play his little dice game. Through the game you'll face many mini-bosses, and if you die once, it's back to the beginning. The whole fight is like a marathon, and is easily the best fight in the entire game, if you look at the design and the difficulty.
Oh shit, here we go again.
There's just something about the Castlevania games that makes me mention them over and over and over and over fucking again all the time, and bringing them into my videos in any way I can. Well, this isn't any different, goddammit. Since there are a shit ton of Castlevania games, the potential bosses I can pick is almost limitless. Well, I'm going to choose the first game, because I'm edgy. While I freaking love Dracula as a boss fight, his head flies off into space, so he can't attend this list. The others are no doubt hard and memorable in their own way, but it's quite logical who earns the number 4 spot. Death himself.
Vem är du? Jag är döden.
Not only is this piece of shit tough as nails, the corridor leading up to him is easily the toughest part of the game, in combination with Death himself, of course. You know what? I'll let the nerd explain it himself.
The hardest part in the entire game, besides Dracula, is the hall right before the Grim Reaper. You have Medusa heads coming at you from both directions, and 2 knights throwing axes at 2 different altitudes. I mean, look at the pattern going on here. Anything that hits you drains 1/4 your health, so that means 4 hits and you're dead. Oh, but the knights take 9 hits. 9 fucking hits. You can't even concentrate on attacking them because you're too busy dodging Medusas, but you can't dodge the Medusas because you're too busy dodging the axes, but you can't dodge the axes because you're trying to hit the knight, but you can't hit the knight because the game's driving you fucking crazy!
Thanks, nerd. And when you finally arrive at Death's doorstep, you not only have to kill him, but you have to kill him while dodging flying fucking death machines that chunk you for 1/4 of your life every hit. Good luck killing this bastard. I sat on him for a good 2 hours the first time I played through the game, and finally beating him is the best goddamn feeling I've felt in years. I had to rewrite this list to insert this boss into it. I simply couldn't skip it. I'm sorry, Mega Man X5. I passed on playing NieR Automata as I simply believed it to not be for me, a game not really worth my time. Oh boy, was I wrong. I was so damn wrong that I even made a whole video about my wrongness. Yes, that's officially a word from here on out. So I picked up Automata during a sale and was honestly blown away by how much I enjoyed it. It was a fresh change of the standard games I usually played. As I entered the stunning amusement park, my favorite area in the game, I was so mesmerized by the overall aesthetics that I just had to take it all in before proceeding. The Before even arriving at the boss stage, you take a roller coaster around the castle, really allowing you to take in the beauty of the place. As you enter the abandoned opera, you're greeted by
Simone de Beauvoir.
or Simone, whatever you like to call her, a robot that is obsessed with attaining beauty by donning the corpses of other machines. If you haven't got shields already, the second phase during the fight becomes horrid as she drops dead android bodies, crucified, into the arena, and starts using them as weapons against you. Jesus Christ, if you didn't figure it out already, this is just a tragedy. Especially if you play through Route B after and learn why Simone became like this. Heck, even the song makes you feel somber, and yet it's still extremely beautiful. This boss is easily in my top 3. I absolutely adore Dark Souls. No matter what happens, I replay the game every now and then, sometimes discovering new things I missed before, trying new builds or different routes. It's just a blast, and a testament to how great the original Dark Souls is. Not only was it memorable in the world department, but it had some really challenging and unforgettable bosses as well. Many like Snorlax and Pikachu, Fatboy and Slim, the Super Londo brothers, Bert and Ernie, or other names, for how steep the difficulty suddenly becomes, having you take on 2 bosses at once. I myself like it quite a lot, but there's one other fight that precedes it, a fight against a Dark Knight. No, not him. Throughout the game you hear about the legendary knight Artorias from various NPCs or item descriptions. He sounds like something akin to a god. Everyone praise him for his stoicism and bravery, offering himself to the abyss to save what is left to be saved. And then you find him. He didn't even make it far enough to be able to save anyone, except his dear companion Sif, which cost him an arm and his trustworthy great shield. This all makes the encounter with him that much more horrifying. Even without his shield, he's still a formidable foe, fast, nimble, deadly. Killing him is not only satisfying as hell, but it's also quite sad to see what this legend has become in the end. Requiescat in pace, Artorias. Before I reveal my number 1 pick, I'd like to bring up some honorable mentions which just missed the mark. Keep in mind that I might have forgot some fights, there's just so many great ones. Bloodborne has been a long-time favorite of mine. It scratched all the itches of my previous thirst of a new Souls game, but it also exceeded my expectations to a great extent. Everything from the Victorian/Gothic setting and style to the alluring story and hideous beasts is like a personal video game dream come true. I've made 2 videos where I talk about the game, why I love it and why it's something special. You can view them if you want, and I'll leave the links down in the comments below. One obvious thing that Bloodborne excels at is the boss fights. During the fights, the adrenaline often flows like the natural blood in your veins, pumping in much needed hormones that increase your reaction time and concentration. I remember my first time meeting Papa G, beat him on my first try even, but holy shit was that a tough fight. Great story and lore, which formed an immediate memory. Same with Ludwig, the Holy Blade. Great fight, awe-inducing music, and an interesting show of how thin the line between beast and man is. But these boss fights aren't quite enough to deserve the number 1 spot, as the game saves the best for last. Not only is Gehrman the perfect ending boss to this type of game, the fight itself is hard in more than one way. If you paid attention throughout the game, you must know that Gehrman isn't an inhabitant of the dream by choice, rather through an irreversible pact. He's seemingly been a prisoner of the dream for decades, suffering every single second. Despite this, he knows he'll be freed if you, the player, kills him. And despite this, once you refuse his offer, he stands up, readies his sight, and joins the hunt again. He'd rather spare you his unending suffering and oppose you than be released himself, which makes the entire fight a surge of confusing emotions, much like the life of any 15-year-old. This speaks so much about both Gehrman himself and what lies behind the fight. It's truly an epic fight in many regards, well worth the number 1 spot on the best boss fights in gaming. So yeah, that's my complete list. Whether you agree or disagree, you're free to voice your own opinions down in the comments below. And I'll do more of these top 10, already have some planned, so you click the button too if you want to support me. Okay? Alright, that was it for today. I hope you have a great one. See ya.